Greetings and welcome to episode 10 of Zooming into Focus, a podcast that explores and highlights the research and training developed by the Virginia Commonwealth University Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on the employment of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities project. I'm your host, Lucian Friel from VCU RRTC. On this episode, our guests are Dr. Ashley Lecorn-Huckaby and Dr. Pete Temple, who are here to continue the discussion about the tech prep course that we started in episode 9. Ashley serves as an instructor and mentor within the tech prep program at VCU RRTC. Her background is in education and instructional design. She earned her doctoral degree in educational leadership, and she has over a decade of experience working with students in K-12 and post-secondary environments, including students with diverse learning needs. Dr. Pete Temple earned his PhD in special education and disability policy from VCU. He is a second-year research associate with the VCU RRTC with over 15 years of research experience. His research specialty is in developing accessible online learning for students in transition and adult learners. In the Study 3 Tech Prep program, Ashley and Pete are working closely with participants to help them develop technology, problem solving, and workplace readiness skills so they can confidently pursue education and employment opportunities in the technology-related field, and they're here to talk about it. Welcome to the podcast, Ashley and Pete.
Hi. Thanks, Lucian, for the invite.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
So we are launching this episode here in June. Wondering if you all have summer plans going on.
Absolutely. I have summer plans to take my family to San Diego, California this year. Um, my family has never been to the West Coast, so we're really excited about the trip. Beautiful weather, lots to do. And side note, my oldest son is obsessed with Snoop Dogg. So
Oh,
somehow we're gonna
excellent.
have to get him to see Snoop Dogg.
Excellent. You have to find his schedule to see where he's going to be at.
Exactly.
How about you, Pete?
That's fantastic. I wish I could say I was doing something as exciting as going out to see Snoop Dogg, but no, I'm actually going to take a vacation out to the beach, which is going to be my first vacation that I have taken in about 12 years. So I think it's a little overdue.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
San Diego and the beach. We're talking nice, nice weather. It's interesting we're talking about summer plans. You know, I feel like we've been in summer now for it feels like a few weeks here with the warm weather.
Absolutely. It's very beautiful today here in Virginia. It seems that it's gonna get up in the 80s. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's I've heard that that's kind of San Diego weather all year round, so it's kind of getting you ready
Yes,
for your summer vacation here.
absolutely.
Well, so we'll go ahead and jump into this episode. In the last episode of the podcast, we talked to doctors Joshua Taylor and Holly Wittenberg about their tech prep course in Washington State. Pete, we'll start with you. Can you give us a refresher and provide us with a little background on the tech prep course? What is it? What does it cover?
sure thing. And I don't want to retread too many steps that have already been taken with Josh and Holly, and of course, Dr. Tim Tansey from before. Uh, but our study is called, preparing youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities to pursue technology training and careers. But that's just a whole mess of words, so we just call it tech prep. Uh, in all due seriousness, it's about reducing barriers to post-secondary employment for young people with disabilities and increasing opportunities for students who are motivated and interested in STEM careers. It is a scale up of the technology early career preparation intervention that was previously run at the University of Wisconsin-Madison from 2019 to 2024 in Chicago, where they actually saw increases in job readiness, employment in competitive integrated in jobs in technology related fields, and enrollment in post secondary education. So when we think about, the goal of tech prep, it's to encourage and prepare students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to not only complete high school, but to find jobs and obtain technical training certificates to fill all of those in-demand science and technology positions, which are growing more and more every day. So by design, we just want to help students with disabilities gain valuable skills, get some mentorship, and some paid work experiences in STEM careers.
That's excellent. You're completely right about that, right? Like, I feel like eventually we're all just going to be working in tech. So, but Ashley, what types of information are you all as the researchers and the participants sort of getting out of this course?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lucian, for the question. Participants are gaining a lot of practical information about both the technology field and the workplace in general. They're learning about different types of jobs within technology, what those jobs look like day to day, and what skills employers are looking for. At the same time, they're developing important soft skills like communication, teamwork, problem solving, and self advocacy. Those skills are critical in any workplace. From the instructional side, we're also learning a lot about how students engage with technology training and what types of learning experiences help them feel confident and successful.
That's excellent, Ashley. Pete, is there anything in particular that you've learned from this first cohort that you would like to share with us right now that you can? I know I said in the last episode, like no spoilers, but if you can give us a little spoilers, that'd be okay.
Well, I think that it's a little early to say for sure since we only have baseline data, and our next two data points won't be collected until post-internship and then 9 months after that. But I think it's safe to say that we've learned a lot about our participants, their personalities, and what they really value when it comes to work. Exploring those values and helping them develop work skills and engaging important conversations around disability and work, these are the things that some of our participants are experiencing for the first time. And Ashley and I, when we try to make the online community as welcoming as possible, but it was our participants themselves that really helped make it a community. These are really deeply passionate individuals who want to succeed as they continue to transition out of high school, and they're excited for what the future holds, knowing that they're not doing it alone. They have each other. They don't only have us at the university, but they've found supports in each and every other participant that they've gone through with their cohort as well.
That's excellent. Josh and Holly had talked about sort of this almost community building that took place within it. Are you both seeing that sort of happening as well?
Absolutely. The students are definitely building community, they're bonding, even outside of the course and outside of Pete and I. We are just astounded at how much the students are bonding in our course.
That's excellent. And I didn't really touch on this. I don't think too much on the last episode, but are all of these participants? We don't have to really give necessarily location, but they're all located within the same area, right, of Virginia?
That's right. They're all in the Hampton Roads area, but I think what's noteworthy is the fact that we've done recruiting from multiple schools in that area. So there wasn't really a guarantee that you would really see somebody else from within your school in the program as well. Uh, but we found a situation where, you know, an older participant and a younger participant did happen to go to the same school, and now they start recognizing each other in the hallway and like saying hey to each other. Whereas before that, they really wouldn't have known each other because again, they've separated by those grade levels. So it's cool to see that camaraderie form between them.
That's excellent. Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know, Hampton Roads encompasses 7 different cities, so it's a really large metropolitan area. So yeah, no, it's interesting that you had a couple people from the same school, but at least spread out enough too. Um, Ashley, have you all noticed any differences in the Virginia cohort and the Washington cohort? If so, what have you noticed? Maybe either that are different, but also maybe similar.
Yeah, Lucian, great question. I would say one of the most interesting things about this project is just seeing how different groups of students approach the course material. Even though both cohorts are participating in the same program, every group brings its own personality and energy to the experience. The Virginia cohort has been incredibly engaged and curious. Many of our students ask thoughtful questions about careers and what steps they need to take after high school. It's also been interesting to see how many students support and encourage one another. That sense of collaboration and community has been really strong within the Virginia group and the Washington group.
That's excellent. That's excellent to hear. Pete, we talked about the information you all are getting from the course, but what are some of the goals of conducting this segment of the research?
So I think we touched base on a little on this earlier, but the goal of the 12 weeks of instruction is to really help students develop workplace readiness skills, develop some self-advocacy skills, and explore different types of jobs and training. And if that sounds familiar to a pre-eds program, that's very much the idea. We want them to learn the knowledge and develop the skills and abilities that'll help make them valuable employees. And we also want to help guide them away from the mindset of, oh, I'm just going to graduate or get beyond school and get a job to, oh, I can actually have a career. Because, jobs they're just sort of short term. They now have the skills to help develop their careers over the course of the next few years, whether that's getting some post-secondary education or jumping into the workforce right now.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the podcast. If you have any questions for us, you can head over to idd.vcurrtc.org/ask to submit your questions. One of our technical assistance team members or our training team members will respond back to you. If you have questions about anything related to employment for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, you can submit it there. Or if you'd like to be connected to some of our different training options or some of our different resources, you can also ask your questions there. And now back to the podcast. Ashley, have you received any feedback about the course from this first cohort that you can share with us?
Absolutely. So the feedback we've received so far has been very encouraging, very positive feedback. Many participants have said that they've enjoyed learning about technology careers that they didn't know existed before. Some of our students have also shared that the course has helped them feel more confident about their future and about their ability to work in professional environments. Another thing we've heard is that they appreciate the interactive nature of the sessions. When students can participate in discussions, activities, and real world examples, it helps them connect the materials to their own goals.
Yeah, it's interesting too that you brought up confidence. A couple of episodes ago, we talked to Troy Carter, who works here at the RRTC, and confidence was one of the big things that he brought up was, something that he gained, and of course, he's working with us here in tech, and I think Pete, if I'm not mistaken, he's helped out with the course as well. Is that right?
He hasn't helped out with this course, but I've worked with him on several other projects, and he's literally one of my favorite people here at the RRTC. We chat every day.
Of course, yeah. Troy's awesome, as everyone got to see. Ashley, what are some of the things that you are looking forward to as the course and this study progress?
Yes, one of the things that I'm most excited about is seeing how students continue to grow as they move into the internship phase of the program. That's where they really get the opportunity to apply what they've learned in a real world setting. It's also going to be exciting to watch future cohorts come through the program and to continue to build on what we've learned from the first group. Programs like this have the potential to make a meaningful difference in how students with disabilities transition from schools into careers. So it's really rewarding to be a part of that process.
Pete, would you second that as well, as far as the rewarding part goes?
Oh, absolutely. The fact of the matter is, You know, the whole goal of this is to help these students develop and grow. So getting the opportunity to see them develop over the course of the 12 weeks that we spent with them, and then continuing to get to see that through the internship and then into the next year, I'm excited to see where they go.
That's excellent. Yeah, well, I can't wait to have you both back on to find out about some of the successes that you all have had because just hearing it, it sounds like it's going to be a success. I know that we can't jump ahead too quickly on that, but so far it sounds like it's been a success. Um, so Pete, what do you think some of the benefits are or could be? Um, with this course for the field of disability, or maybe not just this course, but this study in general.
So I think that that is an excellent question. And I think we kind of have to think about this in terms of the short and the long term. In the short term, as Ashley touched base on before, I think the students are going to benefit from the experience. Past research shows that participation in hands-on work experience, like an internship, leads to higher rates of enrollment in post-secondary education, or leads to more full-time employment. In the long term, I'm thinking well down the line, and of course, depending on the results, I think we could really see tech prep adapted, developed, and adopted in schools across the US. I think if the project goes well, then we continue to scale up and see how it improves student outcomes all across the United States.
Right. Yeah. I think, having a scale up in the name of this study, I think is fitting, right? Because that's seems to be the end goal. You've all kind of touched on that. This final question that I have is for both of you. Um, where are we going from here? What are some of the next things that you all are doing in the study? And, what do we have to look forward to?
So that's a great question, Lucian. Internships will be an important part of the study because they're going to give the students the opportunity to build their confidence, they're going to gain experience, and they're going to explore potential career paths in technology. We're also looking forward to future cohorts as the program continues to grow and evolve. Pete?
Yeah, no, I was about to say the exact same thing. We are still continuing to recruit for the next set of cohorts. In fact, later tonight, I'm going to be on the horn with several different families to give them more information about tech prep. And what's exciting is that we're also now working with businesses to develop these internships. So it's going to be a very exciting next few months for us here at our offices, and also an exciting summer for our participants as they move forward.
That's exciting. That's super exciting. This is something I didn't really touch on yet, but what's kind of like the span of this? What's the spectrum of tech that we're talking about here? It's everything from podcasts, right? I think Josh and Holly had talked about that, but can you give us sort of a rundown of what some of the fields in tech that you're talking about?
So our fields have been as diverse as our participants have been. So we've talked about cybersecurity. We've got folks that are interested in programming. We've got folks that are interested in hardware and software development. We also have folks interested in graphic design and communications. And we have other folks that are interested in the application of technologies to other fields like oceanography and photography. So when we talk about the breadth and depth of the different types of tech careers that we've covered, it is expansive and continues to grow based on the interests of our participants. That's one of the great things about working on the 12-week course is that we've been able to tailor it based on the interests of our participants. And we start figuring out and learning what they're interested in as soon as they've been consented. So we find out then and start implementing those interests early on.
I absolutely agree with Pete's sentiments. He's absolutely spot on.
Well, with that, maybe we can have one of the participants kind of jump on, or maybe a few of them jump on the podcast and tell us a little bit about it. I know there are some guidelines that we'd have to follow, of course, with that. But even if it were just having them just come on and tell us a little bit about their experience in the course.
We love to.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both for helping us zoom into focus on tech prep here in Virginia and the tech prep course. And I want to thank you all again. And, don't hesitate to reach out to jump on the podcast again. I'll say this, I already have you scheduled and penciled in down the road. So
We'll be here.
excellent. Well, thank you both so much and enjoy the summer.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Thank
Lucian.
you.
And thank you all for joining us today. The contents of this podcast were developed under a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, NIDLR grant number 90RTE M0013. NIDLR is a center within the Administration for Community Living, the ACL, Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. The contents of this podcast do not necessarily represent the policy of NIDLR, ACL, HHS, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. Again, thank you for joining us.